Do you consider yourself a high achieving corporate woman, yet you keep shrinking, hesitating, talking yourself out of that next raise, establishing a clear boundary, and making a bold request even before the conversation even starts? If that's you, you need to listen up. Get your friends, get your colleagues, because I have three things that we need to talk about. You and I need to get clear before your next negotiation. So get your pen, get that meeting room, get this video in a Zoom room and let's talk. Often you think, how are they going to take this? As opposed to the clarity and confidence and compassion that you have around what it is that you need and want. Am I right or am I right? Right? Because you're constantly going through this war in your head about what they're going to think. And you often believe that their comfort is more important than your clarity. It's more important you speaking your truth. And I just want you to release that. And I'm not just sitting here acting like I don't know and I don't understand. I completely understand what you're going through. I am Diana Patton. I'm an authentic power strategist. And after so many years of going through these types of things in my head, I started to realize there are certain patterns that we need to release ourselves from. Now, I've learned a lot of this, of course, in my own corporate, my own personal life, because everything we're telling you is not just in business. Everything I'm sharing with you happens to relate to your own life because we were never really taught how to go through this analysis and what to say. Now, I know one thing that is for sure. If you're like me, you're going to make certain that you do your research. You're going to have all the data and you're going to have it all analyzed and it's going to be clear in the document. But where it's not going to be clear is in your head. So, this is the reason why just having artificial intelligence and doing your research on Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever you use to kind of clarify your AI, your artificial intelligence, that's not enough. That is not enough. You have to go through the training of doing the things that I am telling you to do in this video. When I went to Harvard negotiation school because I wanted to become a better negotiator, I wanted to be able to go into very difficult circumstances and learn what it is that's the unique factor that helps people get to a certain level of understanding. Ultimately, I wanted to get a yes to what it is that I was asking for. But little did I know when I went into this negotiation course that they were going to be teaching us everything that I am talking to you about, which is getting rid of that little voice in your head that believes that their comfort is much more important than what it is that I have to say. So the question they asked us, how are you going to tell someone that their breath stinks? Isn't that good? I think that's so good because, you kind of go into these situations and how many of you guys have experienced this, right? Or someone smells or it's not even just the hygiene issue, right? It's not the issue of hygiene. It's the issue of being honest with someone, being clear and really knowing and just being honest with yourself like, this is a horrible situation. I don't even like being in this meeting with this person. This is terrible. And so, how do you actually go up and tell that person that their breath stinks? And you and your colleagues talk about it all the time when you leave the meeting. Why not be that bold and courageous person that actually follows through and has the conversation with them, right? So I want to talk to you about three things I outlined in this recent email that I shared with some of my clients. I said that you don't need permission to ask for what aligns with your value. If you value being honest, you value accountability, you have these types of values and integrity, you're likely going to tell that person that the breath stinks. Mm, I know, right? You know what else? You don't need to shrink to be seen as reasonable, right? It is reasonable for you to be able to say something to that person and not shrink down because you know it's reasonable to do that. Someone needs to be that person. Why not let that be you? Here's the third thing I told my clients: you don't need to pre apologize for being clear. How beautiful does that apply to the situation, right? Sorry, 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 but I need to tell you this. No, you don't need to apologize for that. It's just the way that it is. And this is what I want us to get down into. I have to be clear about my values, who I am, what I believe in, and what is true to me before I can even advocate for someone else. And that's what I realized as an attorney. So, as a high achieving corporate woman, we often will go out and we will go battle for someone else, but you have to battle that for yourself. You have to get clear on what it is that you believe about yourself. So, I have actually outlined 3 things that I want you to do as a result of listening to this video, right? I don't want you just to listen to it and go, oh, that's good. No, I literally want you to write these things down and I want you to write it out. In fact, I would even encourage you to, like I said, be with your colleagues, be with other people, and use this as a workshop. Take time to talk about it. So, the first question that you have to ask yourself: am I prioritizing other people's comfort or honoring my own needs? And so, what I want you to do is, I want you to think about a situation where you've had to negotiate something, or you've had to ask for something, or set a clear boundary with someone, or make a bold move, make a bold request. So, think about that time. And what was it that had made you hesitate? Were you actually prioritizing their comfort? Were you thinking about their comfort, or were you honoring your own needs? When I think about asking for what it is that I know I need, I literally, this is before doing a lot of my own self work, I would sit there and think about them, what they might be going through, how this might impact them, and never really honoring myself and knowing I need to ask for this. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it. And I would go through countless hours of just sitting there thinking that through and never honoring myself. And I thought, my gosh, that's horrible. And I know I've done that. Do you do that? So pause the video, think about it, and write that down. Okay. Okay. All right. So how was that? What'd you think? Was it good? I'd love to hear from you about a situation that you've gone through. Maybe you might want to set up a 30-minute consult with me to talk it through. I'd love, love, love to hear from you because I like to connect with y'all. I want to know what's going on in your head. Okay. So the second thing that I want you to think about, a question that you need to ask yourself is, do I believe that I deserve more? Or am I waiting for someone else to decide that for me? Oh, I'm going to tell you, there have been so many times I work with my clients, a lot of my Rise Advocates graduates, even people that are ambassadors for our Rise Advocates movement. They've really had to think this through because they were sitting down thinking, "Oh, if I work hard and they see me, they're going to say that I deserve more, or they're gonna see my hard work and they're just gonna give it to me." No. Because here's the thing, most people will say, "Oh, okay, I'm so glad that you're doing that," and just let you keep doing that. And you might say, "Oh, not my boss, not my direct report." Well, are you getting what you need? Right? So the question is, do I believe I deserve more? And if the answer to that is yes, then you need to begin the process for asking for it. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to think about that. Do you believe that you deserve more? And how often have you waited for someone to actually decide for you, either even a boundary in a relationship. Again, I'm not thinking about just a raise. I want you to think about anything that you've had to do where you've had to even make a bold request of someone. Okay, so often we sit around and wait for permission, no more. I want you to answer the question and then I want you to talk about that. Okay, the third thing that I really need you to feel, because when we ask for things, what we don't do is we don't think about what that will look like and what that will feel like. When I'm thinking of asking for something or going through a bold request or saying that I don't want to do something, I think about what that's gonna make me feel like. So this is the third thing I want you to think about is what would it look like and feel like to speak up with clarity and compassion, not just for yourself, but to model it for others. The thought of actually being the change that you want to be. What is that gonna feel like? What is that going to do for you to speak up with clarity and compassion? So, in the Rise Advocates movement, what we are all about is being who we say we are behind the scenes, not just in front of other people. Why? Because we're always being an example of what it is that we want to do. And speaking up with clarity and compassion might just be the thing that's going to set a new tone in your family. It might be the thing that's going to set a new tone on your team. It may be the very thing that your colleague needs to see that you've done for yourself that will give them this unconscious permission to do the same. So think about that. So you don't have to be harsh to be heard, right? But you do have to believe before you speak. A lot of us don't believe ourselves. We don't take ourselves seriously and we aren't trusting ourselves. And that is the critical thing that you need to have so that you're not chronically shrinking, chronically hesitating, or talking yourself out of what it is that you need to do for yourself. And when you do these three things, I am telling you, your life will change. But I know, of course, a lot of you really need to be in community with someone. You need someone like myself to strengthen you, to say, hey, I see you, and maybe even to have accountability. That's why we love our Rise Advocates movement because we're all about community. We're all about connecting with one another to see each other through. Just like I know you have your friends, you have your colleagues, but you have to really get into a discipline about doing these kinds of things. You've done uncomfortable, hard things in the past, and you can continue to do them in the future and keep leveling up and being honest with yourself. But check it out. Maybe you need to have come with us. We have this beautiful audio series called How to Unlock Your Authenticity Code. And it could be the very thing that you need in order for you to keep leveling up. So we want to put the link in here for you to check it out. We also would love for you to consider our Rise Advocates Academy. That's the big, bold step that a lot of corporate women have taken has transformed their lives. I'm just telling you, this is the reality of how you continuously level up. How's that sound to you, my sister? I want you to continue to rise, my sis. Take note of these tips. Talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues about it, talk to yourself about it. I'll see you in the next video.